You'd think 911 is reserved for real emergencies, right? Heart attacks, house fires, actual crimes in progress. Well, apparently not everyone got that memo. From epic battles with lawn ornaments to full-scale investigations into missing pizza slices, these calls prove that common sense isn't nearly as common as we'd hope. Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Number 1. The serial criminal. A grown adult called emergency services in genuine distress, asking if eating breakfast cereal for dinner was against the law. They were so concerned about this potential crime against mealtime conventions that they needed confirmation from law enforcement. The dispatcher had to reassure them that Captain Crunch after 6 p.m. wasn't a federal offense. Number 2. The mannequin passenger. Someone genuinely asked 911 if they could legally use the carpool lane with a mannequin wearing a hat in the passenger seat. Their logic was ironclad. The hat clearly made it count as a real person with full commuter rights. The dispatcher had to diplomatically explain that hats, no matter how dapper, don't grant mannequins carpool lane privileges. Number 3. The steak emergency. A desperate husband dialed 911 for help grilling a medium-rare steak after repeated failures left him mocked by his wife, believing emergency services were his last hope. But the dispatcher instead suggested he try a recipe rather than treat dinner like a national crisis. Number 4. The squirrel standoff. A terrified caller reported a squirrel staring at him through his window in what he described as a threatening manner. He was genuinely convinced the rodent was plotting something sinister, possibly a tiny revolution or psychological warfare. The dispatcher had to handle this case of nature's smallest warriors, apparently upgrading from stealing birdseed to intimidation tactics. Number 5. The Netflix crisis. Someone dialed 911 because they couldn't decide what movie to watch on Netflix and desperately wanted a police-approved recommendation. They treated the dispatcher like a streaming service concierge, expecting emergency responders to moonlight as entertainment consultants. The dispatcher suggested a crime drama. If you're going to waste 911's time, at least be thematically consistent. Number 6. The gnome surveillance. A paranoid neighbor reported a garden gnome for watching them and giving off bad vibes, convinced it was running a mystical surveillance op. Officers explained they don't regulate decorative energy fields, while the gnome carried on its silent psychological warfare with a smug smirk. Number 7. The ice cream chase. A woman called 911 to report an ice cream truck for speeding through her neighborhood, not because it endangered children, but because she couldn't run fast enough to catch it. She demanded the driver be ticketed for going too fast for proper snack procurement. The dispatcher suggested waiting for the truck's next lap, though no word on whether she practiced her sprinting in the meantime. Number 8. The Uber burger incident. An outraged passenger called emergency services because their Uber driver refused to stop for fast food during the ride. He wanted police to force the driver to detour for a burger, treating his craving like a constitutional right. The dispatcher channeled saintly patience and suggested addressing his hunger through Uber's customer support instead. Number 9. The wind chime complaint. One caller reported their neighbor's wind chimes for being too cheerful and disrupting their cultivated gloom, insisting the happy tinkling felt like a personal attack. But the dispatcher suggested talking to the neighbor instead of banning happiness within 100 feet. Number 10. The coffee cup catastrophe. A man demanded police intervention because a barista misspelled his name on his coffee cup, treating this as a brutal attack on his personal branding. He wanted officers to issue an official warning to the barista. The dispatcher gently advised him to simply correct the barista next time, rather than involving law enforcement in spelling disputes. Number 11. The vending machine thief. An angry customer called 911 demanding the arrest of a vending machine that stole their dollar without dispensing snacks. They wanted the machine charged with theft and possibly handcuffed, though the tragic reality was they didn't even get their Doritos. Officers did not perform a citizen's arrest on the snack bandit, leaving justice tragically unserved. Number 12. The Goose Gang. A man called for help because he was trapped in his driveway by what he described as a gaggle of territorial geese, blocking his exit like a feathered motorcycle crew. He painted them as dangerously territorial birds conducting some sort of organized blockade. By the time officers arrived, the geese had casually waddled away, probably high-fiving each other with their wings after winning the greatest standoff of the year. Number 13. The melting ice cream emergency. Someone panicked and called 911 because their ice cream cone was melting too fast. They genuinely wanted police to somehow save their dessert from the laws of thermodynamics. The dispatcher, professionally holding back laughter, suggested the revolutionary solution of eating it faster. Number 14. The pizza thief cat. A betrayed pet owner called 911 after their cat stole a slice of pizza, asking if it counted as theft and if police could retrieve the cheesy hostage. Since the law doesn't prosecute cats, the dispatcher suggested just grabbing another slice while the feline showed no remorse. Number 15. The Christmas light assault. A woman complained that her neighbor's holiday lights were so blindingly bright they were keeping her awake, demanding police come dim them down immediately. She was concerned they might violate some sort of brightness ordinance on the maximum wattage of inflatable Santas. Officers had to explain there's no legal limit on festive illumination. Number 16. The microwave mystery. Someone called 911 because they couldn't figure out how to reset the time on their microwave and needed professional assistance. Maybe it was a protest against daylight saving time, or maybe they were just technologically challenged. The dispatcher had to explain that appliance troubleshooting isn't covered in standard police training manuals. Number 17. The bad hair day. One caller begged 911 to send a stylist because their hair looked so bad they considered it an emergency, but the dispatcher reminded them that while police can do many things, fixing bad bangs isn't one of them. In the end, the only thing in danger was the caller's pride. Number 18. The leaf invasion. A woman called to report her neighbor's tree for dropping leaves in her yard, claiming it was a violation of property boundaries that required immediate police intervention. She treated the rogue foliage like it should come with a court summons for trespassing. Officers diplomatically recommended she invest in a rake while Mother Nature quietly laughed. Number 19. The forgotten keys. A man was absolutely convinced he'd been robbed when his car keys mysteriously vanished from his kitchen counter, ready for a full-scale investigation into this apparent crime. Officers arrived expecting grand theft, only to discover the shocking culprit was gravity. His keys had simply fallen behind the couch. Number 20. The nightmare response team. A grown man called 911 after having a bad dream, requesting officers come check under his bed for monsters to ensure his safety from imaginary threats. He wanted professional confirmation there were no creatures lurking in his bedroom. The dispatcher, channeling adult professionalism, assured him there were no monsters registered in his area and encouraged him to go back to sleep. Number 21. The lockout situation. Someone called emergency services simply because they forgot their keys and were locked out of their own house, expecting police to provide locksmith services. They sat on their own welcome mat like a lost puppy, probably hoping neighbors wouldn't notice them making this embarrassing call. The dispatcher explained they'd need to contact an actual locksmith instead of emergency responders. Number 22. The parking lot mystery. A woman reported her car stolen, convinced she was the victim of grand theft auto. Officers arrived expecting a major case, only to find her car parked exactly where she left it. The twist: she'd been searching for a red car, but hers was actually blue, sending the officers on an unexpected emotional roller coaster. Number 23. The donut heist. A man called 911 to report a coworker for stealing the last donut from the office break room, labeling it as workplace theft requiring a full investigation. He was outraged by this violation of office snack protocol and wanted justice. The dispatcher advised that perhaps next time he should bring his own snacks, preferably something squirrel-proof. Number 24. The perfect lawn complaint. Someone called to report their neighbor's lawn for being too perfectly mowed, claiming the unnaturally symmetrical grass was disturbing and possibly some kind of suburban witchcraft. They were genuinely unsettled by the immaculate landscaping. The dispatcher explained perfect lawn care, while deeply unsettling to some, wasn't currently a jailable offense. Number 25. The revolving door trap. A panicked tourist called 911 claiming to be trapped in a deadly architectural menace, a revolving door, going in circles for several terrifying minutes. They feared they might never escape this spinning prison and needed immediate rescue from the mechanical beast. By the time officers arrived, the tourist had heroically freed themselves by simply stepping out, while the door continued spinning, waiting for its next victim. Number 26. The marshmallow betrayal. A man called 911 after his roommate ate all the marshmallows from their cereal, insisting it deserved police action, but the dispatcher suggested buying his own box, and maybe a lock to guard it. In the end, justice for marshmallow theft remained outside the law's jurisdiction. Number 27. The TV show tragedy. Someone called emergency services to report the cancellation of their favorite TV show as emotionally devastating, demanding to know who was responsible for this entertainment injustice. They described it as a personal tragedy, requiring official investigation. The dispatcher advised finding a new series to binge, probably one about coping mechanisms. Number 28. The shoe lawsuit. A man tried to press charges against a shoe company because his new shoes gave him blisters. He claimed painful footwear was a crime needing police action, but the dispatcher explained sore feet aren't a legal matter, while a Band-Aid silently whispered, "I told you so." In the end, the only court involved was the food court, where he hobbled for comfort fries. Number 29. The toilet paper crisis. A woman called 911 demanding emergency delivery when her favorite store ran out of her preferred brand of toilet paper, treating this as a supply chain emergency. She needed those quilted two-ply reinforcements and apparently thought mobilizing emergency services was the logical next step. The dispatcher suggested checking online or buying a different brand to avert this bathroom crisis. Number 30. The remote control war. A frustrated mother called police to settle a fight between her children over the TV remote, wanting officers to negotiate this SpongeBob versus Animal Planet dispute. She was clearly at the end of her patience and expected law enforcement to settle the dispute. The dispatcher suggested the tried-and-true method known as timeout rather than deploying officers. Number 31. The cereal shortage. A man called 911 because his grocery store was out of his favorite cereal brand, demanding police intervention in what he saw as a breakfast emergency of national importance. He was incensed beyond reason by this ultimate sin against his morning routine. The dispatcher suggested trying another store while his sad, empty cereal bowl waited for justice. Number 32. The darkness phobia. Someone asked for an officer to guard their house until sunrise, convinced shadows were plotting against them. The dispatcher suggested turning on a light, while a raccoon nearby felt snubbed for not being considered a real threat. In the end, the night survived without police backup. Number 33. The sandwich bandit. A man reported a squirrel for stealing his sandwich during a peaceful picnic, demanding the little thief be arrested for this brazen act of outdoor dining crime. He was outraged by this violation of picnic protocol and wanted full legal consequences for the furry perpetrator. The dispatcher suggested making another sandwich while shaking their head. Number 34. The barking dog threat. Someone called about what they described as a dangerous barking dog that was presumably plotting a neighborhood takeover with an army of other loud pets. Officers rushed over expecting a rebel leader, only to find the threat peacefully napping inside, probably dreaming about bacon and tennis balls. Number 35. The suspicious package. A man made a frantic call about a suspicious package on his porch, convinced it might be dangerous and requiring immediate bomb squad attention. Officers arrived swiftly, prepared for anything from explosives to biological threats, only to discover it was the man's own forgotten online shoe order. His response, "Oh right, my new shoes," while somewhere a pair of sneakers must be laughing. Number 36. The evil twin. Someone called 911 about a dangerous stranger, only to realize it was their own reflection in a store window, creating one of the most embarrassing moments in surveillance history. The dispatcher likely added evil twin incidents to the list of calls they never expected. Somewhere, a mirror laughed quietly to itself. Number 37. The traffic light conspiracy. An impatient driver called 911 demanding police immediately fix a red traffic light that was making them late. They wanted officers to intervene immediately, because obviously world peace could wait for their commute. The dispatcher explained that traffic signals are managed by city maintenance, not emergency responders with screwdrivers and traffic wizard hats. Number 38. The early Christmas violation. A man called to report his neighbor for the heinous crime of hanging Christmas lights too early in the season, insisting this was unlawful decoration requiring strict holiday timeline enforcement. He demanded police regulate when people could break out their inflatable Santas. The dispatcher reminded him that premature holiday cheer, while shocking to some, isn't currently regulated by law enforcement. Number 39. The yoga disruption. Someone called 911 because their neighbor's loud music was ruining their sacred yoga session, demanding emergency help for a meditative crisis. They insisted the bass was shattering their aura, but the dispatcher, radiating true zen, suggested noise-canceling headphones instead. Somewhere, a gong sighed in solidarity. These calls prove that while 911 is meant for genuine emergencies, some people have an incredibly creative definition of what constitutes a crisis worthy of police response. From battling lawn ornaments to negotiating with squirrels, these dispatchers have truly heard it all and somehow maintained their sanity. Thanks for watching, and here's another video I chose for you for your entertainment.